Hi, I'm Nick from Panda, and in this video I'm going to show you the design and features of the Zoro backpack. The Zoro is Rogue Panda's first backpack, and I'm really excited about it. I've spent the last 10 years backpacking in the Grand Canyon and other places, but really focused on the desert and hiking here, and that's what I designed the pack to do. But I do think it has crossover appeal to anyone who wants a lightweight pack that transfers weight well to their hips. And I've spent a ton of time working on the features, and I think for regular weekend backpacking or through hiking or crazy Grand Canyon adventures, I think it'll work well for a lot of different people. So I hope you agree. The Zoro suspension consists of a full wrap hip belt, twin aluminum stays, a partial frame sheet, and load lifters with S-shaped shoulder straps. Instead of putting the hip belt behind a lumbar pad and attaching it that way, it's only attached at the base. So the attachments are here at the base of the stays. And what that does is it gives you a lot of freedom of movement. Your pelvis can move a little bit front and back, and you can get some side to side wiggle room like that, and that just really increases the comfort. Here's a close-up of the hip belt attachment system. You can see how it just comes out of a seam at the base of the stays. These are these military grade pull the dot fasteners, and they're pretty cool because they resist pulling out like this or like that, but they're relatively easy to take off going like this. So if you want to remove your hip belt, you have to pull it this way and it'll come off. And same thing when you put it back on, you have to do the reverse motion. You can't just snap it on straight up. Moving on up the pack from the hip belt, we have the frame sheet. And this is a partial frame sheet just behind your shoulder blades with a thin foam pad. It's got a Velcro flap here so you can remove it. Frame sheet is recycled campaign board. This stuff is amazingly stiff for its weight. So the Zoro shoulder straps have a slight S curve to them, and then they're also attached to the pack with a 2-inch long piece of webbing. And what this does is it gives it a lot of flexibility to fit different body types. So depending on your shoulder angle, which is one of the biggest differences between males and females, it can rotate like this. And depending on just your overall shape, it can kind of flex to be a little bit more of an S curve versus a little bit more of a J curve. Here's the load lifter, and as you can see, it comes off the top of the metal stays. And that means that it really works to take the weight off your shoulders as much as you want. You can put 100% on your hips, no problems at all. And the exact positioning on the shoulder strap is adjustable a few inches, and that helps with just different torso sizes and just different body types overall. As far as pockets go, by default the Zoro comes with 2 side pockets, a rear mesh pocket, and also the hip belt pockets. And then there's also an option for a bottle pocket on one side or both, and it's designed around everybody's favorite, the smart water bottle. So here you can see the bottle pocket in action. This is on a 45-liter Zoro, which means the bottle pocket's a little bit less deep. The 55 and 65-liter backpacks have a deeper pocket. So on the 45-liter, I find the 24-ounce smart water bottle works best. Doesn't stick out as far. On the 55 and 65, I can use a 1-liter. Some of the testers preferred a 24-ounce on that size as well. And in terms of how easy it is to get in and out, depends on how tight you have the shock cord. So for on-trail hiking, I'll usually keep it fairly loose. It's super easy to take the smart water bottle out. With practice, I can get it back in one-handed. If I want a little more security, I'll tighten this up, and it's still easy to take it out, but it becomes harder to put it back in. I can still do it. I've had practice, but sometimes I'll go for the pull tab. And when I put it back in, I'll hold it open with this pull tab and do that. For the hip belt pockets, I didn't want to use a zipper. I find that zippered hip belt pockets just get sandy really easily. Anytime you set your pack down, you have to worry about getting them in the dirt. So we use a one-handed open-close drawstring, and it works really well. So to open it, you grab the tab that's sticking up out of the cord lock, pull it back, and to close it, you just grab the cord and pull it forward. And super, super easy, super fast, super durable. So the back panel of the Zoro is made of HDPE grid stop on the outside. On the inside, there's a thin layer of X-Back. And that does two things. One thing is it makes the seam sealing a lot simpler because there's a lot of seams involved in the suspension, and those don't go through to the inside of the pack. When you take into account how much less seam sealer you need, it ends up only adding about half an ounce to the pack. What it also gives you is the ability, and the lighting might be a little hard to see here, but we've got a hang loop here, and you have the ability to put a hydration bladder behind the frame sheet so it won't poke into your back, but outside of the main waterproof compartment. And so you can run a hose in here, or run a bladder in here, run a hose out either side of the Velcro closure, and you have a little hydration sleeve already built in. And as I said, the weight cost is very small, and you also gain more trustworthy waterproofing of the pack. Lastly, the Zoro is waterproof. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I want to do a more detailed video in the future, and I'm also running out of daylight. But on the left you can see a right side out Zoro, and here's one inside out. And there are very few seams that require seam sealing. The way we've made it, we have this seam allowance on the exterior on some of these seams, and then we also have a lot of flat seams. And those all end up being very easy to seal. The seam allowance on the outside means that on the inside, there's just a single stitch line that needs sealing. And the flat felt seams, like this one here, just 2 stitch lines. And you can also see here, this is the back panel where all the suspension design is, and there's no seam sealing required for any of that stitching because we use that double layer. Now, as far as how much should you trust that? Well, if you're going to be pack rafting, you really should probably double layer everything, just all the seams twice, and you should also fill it with water while it's inside out and check for leaks. The first time I sealed this one, there were a couple slow leaks where I missed some spots. I filled it up again, I patched them, and since then I've taken it pack rafting and deliberately not used a pack liner and just shoved my sleeping bag in the bottom, and it's been fine. I don't recommend doing that, it's kind of risky. But if you do, fill it with water and double check your seams and make sure you didn't miss any spots, it should keep out all rain. And I haven't hiked with a pack liner in a number of years for that reason. Even if you do have some slow leaks, in my experience, they only show up when you're pack rafting and when the pack is submerged. They don't show up just for an everyday kind of rainstorm. It takes a lot more.